First of all, I do apologize if you hear any vibrational sounds or noises. Where it's the vroom, vroom, if you will. I'm recording this on my phone, so I do apologize for that if you hear that, because those are notifications and stuff, emails, texts. You get the idea. But anyway, with that out of the way, as you probably see, Sonic Central had an event recently. And, oh boy, talk about a lot of news coming out of this. First of all, to start out, the producer behind Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which is coming out this December, was asked basically in a Q&A, whether or not that would be the end of the movie franchise. And he pretty much flat out, just like Jeff Fowler and others that have worked on the movie have said before him, and that is no. No, it is not the end. Basically, he said essentially verbatim that there's so much more lore in the Sonic franchise to work with. There's so much more to really tap into. So if you're hoping for maybe, the Freedom Fighters, or at least Sally, to make her debut somehow, because, she is a very beloved character. And if you were to ask fans, honestly, who they'd want to see, outside of game characters show up, in the movies that have ties to Sonic from other media, a lot of fans will come out and say, give us Sally Acorn. And that's a flat out fact. They wouldn't say, they would say, give us Bunny as well, or give us this character or that character. But flat out, they would say, out of any other character that's either game related or in the games, or is non-game related but has been a pivotal part, of the franchise for a long time, everybody would be pointing to Sally. So for those of you that still hope for that to happen, that's a possibility down the line. That is a possibility. So, yeah, the producer basically said, like I said, verbatim, and I do apologize for the notification, as I mentioned earlier. You're going to hear some of those. But like I said, he mentioned verbatim, just like what Fowler and others have said, there's still more to go. There's still a lot more to work with, and they're not halting any production. They're not halting or ceasing any future projects as of right now. Things are still there's still a go, pretty much, when it comes to that. But that wasn't the only news to come out. And also, going back to that real quickly, this also kind of aligns itself with the fact that there have been rumors, if not, speculation, that there's going to be 3 more Sonic movies to come in the near future, and maybe some spin-off shows and maybe spin-off movies down the line. But we will have to see. But yeah, the producer basically said, as I mentioned, verbatim, basically what Fowler and others have said before him, and that is things are going to continue because there's so much more to dig into with this franchise. But that wasn't the only news that came out. The big one that came out, was really just a huge surprise to a lot of fans. It's a huge surprise to a lot of fans. And that was the announcement. And that was the announcement in DC Comics on the webpage. They have it there as well. Basically, the big information, the big news coming out of that is there will be a DC and Sonic the Hedgehog crossover collaboration starting next March of 2025. And this is from DC Comics. This is a press release from DC Comics back on Tuesday when this was announced by DC Publicity and SEGA of America. This is what they said, and I quote. This is what they said, and I quote. Today, or Tuesday, Warner Bros. Discovery Global Consumer Products and SEGA of America announced an exciting new crossover partnership that teams DC's Justice League with Sonic the Hedgehog and Team Sonic. Ivo Gorashvi, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that last name, Senior Vice President and Chief Business and Brand Officer of Sonic, head of SEGA Brands, shared the first official details of the DC Sonic collaboration this morning, or Tuesday morning, during SEGA's annual Sonic Central live stream event. So yeah, like I said, a lot of news came out of the Sonic Central event this week, and this was a big one. And continuing on, I quote: Publishing in spring of 2025, the Justice League will meet Sonic and his friends in an all-new 5-issue comic book series published by DC Comics and written by Ian Flynn, writer of the Sonic the Hedgehog comic book series. The new series features an unprecedented crossover event where the Justice League and Team Sonic must unite to save their world from a major threat. The first issue debuts March 2025, publishing monthly through July. And by the way, it's going to be the main publisher, the main distributor of the comic will be DC themselves, not just IDW. You're probably going to get that little copyright logos when you have crossovers where it says, one company's name and the other company's name, or the one comic publisher's name and the other comic publisher's name. You're probably going to get that where it says DC and IDW, but DC will be the ones that will be handling they will be the ones that will be handling basically the publication of the entire event. So yeah, it's going to be a DC comic, if you will. It's going to basically be associated I should say, with IDW because Sonic is published under that, but it will be primarily a DC comic, if you will. Because, of course, DC, Warner Bros. Discovery, have a lot more money and notability than IDW, let's be honest. So it makes more sense from that perspective. Now, they did showcase what characters would be kind of crossing over into certain roles, if you will. They did they did showcase what characters would be crossing over into certain roles. And some would say some of them make sense, and others would be like, well, there's more characters outside of the ones you're showing that can really occupy other roles. And that is true. That is true. But here's the characters that are going to be crossing over into said roles. And they even had a little trailer discussing this, and I'll try to link that at the end here. If you're watching on YouTube, that is. I'll try to link it at the end if you're watching on YouTube. Watching and listening, I should say. But the characters that will be crossing over into said roles of the heroes of DC are Batman. He will be portrayed by Shadow. That's right, Shadow will be Batman. Some that makes sense. Knuckles will be Superman. And to some, it's kind of makes sense, not really, because it's like, well, wait a minute, he's not like the primary hero of Sonic. That's true, but the crossing over, if you will, the crossing over into these roles kind of relates to, to basically who they are, like how they would be represented if they had the powers of these heroes. So yeah, Shadow is going to be Batman, Knuckles will be Superman. Silver will be Green Lantern. Tails will be Cyborg. Now, Silver as Green Lantern. That does make sense. Lantern has the ring, if you will, the Lantern ring to make himself make certain objects appear or use it to save people. Silver has his psychic kinetic energy. Makes a lot of sense. In those terms. And Cyborg and Tails, obviously, you can't go wrong there. Tails has already been a cyborg, if you catch my drift. If you look back at one of the games, I think it was, Sonic Lost World or something like that? Yeah, he was a cyborg there, temporarily. At least that's what I think happened. Anyway, outside of that, like I said, Batman, Shadow as Batman, Knuckles as Superman, Tails as Cyborg, Silver as Green Lantern, Amy Rose as Wonder Woman. A lot of people probably expected that. And Sonic, I think that pretty much those other roles of Batman, Superman, Lantern, and Cyborg are ruled out. So Sonic, with all that ruled out, obviously gets the character that, matches up with him anyway, and that is the Flash. And do expect Ian Flynn, he's writing the story, to write in a race between those two to see who is indeed the fastest. So that's probably going to happen. as well. But yeah, basically those are the roles that the characters are going to take over in this collaboration that might be going beyond the comics, might be going beyond the comics, if you will, because that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like it's going to be something that goes beyond just what we're going to get with this DC publication, this DC crossover between the Justice League and Team Sonic, if you will, starting in March, which again, it's going to be primarily a DC publication release, which will probably have the IDW logo under there as well. But yeah, the roles that they're being given are Shadow as Batman, Knuckles as Superman, Tails as Cyborg, Silver as Green Lantern, Amy Rose as Wonder Woman, Sonic as the Flash. Now, there are other roles in the DC universe people feel that other characters could have been inserted into. And some have even come up with some ideas. Of course, for Rouge the Bat, they're all basically saying Catwoman, Selena Kyle. Makes sense. Both are thieves. So, both love to, rob museums or get fancy jewelry and all that by stealing. So, Rouge as Catwoman, absolutely agree with that. But then you have Blaze the Cat. How would you put Blaze the Cat? That's another one that came in into Wonderment, and questioning is like, what role would she be? And a lot of people have said that Blaze, she could be Raven from Teen Titans. There's that. Some have even said maybe she could be Hawk Girl, if you will. But again, you have other characters, and it's not just the ones I mentioned either. You have like the Chaotix. I think people would look at them as being a group of superheroes as well. I don't know what group they would be, but I'm sure people would be like, yeah, this could be a group. Maybe they'd be the fellow Lanterns, the Green Lantern Corps. That might be something. Same with Blaze, maybe if they do that. There's also Tangle and Whisper. People could look at, okay, where would Tangle and Whisper come in? I think Whisper, she could fall in line as being kind of like the Huntress. And Tangle, I think, could fall in line for being more like, Supergirl, maybe. I'm just saying. But yeah, this is an interesting situation because, again, a lot of people, they see these roles that the characters are being played in, and they're okay with them once they kind of see why it makes sense. But then also, like I said, there are characters like the ones I've mentioned that they would like to see get in there. I'll get into the act as well. And I have a feeling, depending on how long this collaboration, this partnership is, outside of the comic one, I've got a feeling we might see those we might see those other crossovers that people want to see become a reality. But yeah, that's what's going on there. And what's interesting about this is fans have been wanting something like this for a while. The closest a lot of fans got was when Ken Penders basically used Archie Sonic Super Special number 7, and he did a crossover between the Freedom Fighters of Archie Sonic and Image comic superheroes. Image comic characters like Shadowhawk, The Mask, Vortex, I believe, Savage Dragon, Union. And what that really was in reality, though, was a backdoor pilot to his Lost Ones comic, which only got one issue, period, from Image, and that was it. That's all that Super Special number 7 from Archie was about for Sonic in that crossover. It was a backdoor pilot to the Lost Ones. But yeah, that's the closest anybody ever got, to seeing the Freedom Fighters crossing over with other heroes from another publication. But the thing is, nobody really knew who Shadowhawk was. Nobody really knew who Union was, Vortex was. They knew who the Max was, and they knew who Spawn was, but they didn't, have much of a role in there in the crossover at all. I mean, Spawn mainly had a cameo, encountering the Freedom Fighters in an alley, and Max just showed up like towards the end, and that was it. But everyone else, like I said, from Vortex to Union, primarily Union, Savage Dragon, and Shadowhawk, but you also had Vortex in there. They had prominent roles. but it wasn't, like the crossover. Again, like I said, fans have been wanting. Fans actually had been wanting a crossover between the Freedom Fighters and the heroes like the Justice League of DC for a long time. And the same goes for Marvel. They've been wanting a crossover between the Freedom Fighters and the X-Men, the Freedom Fighters and the Avengers, and so on. That's what they've been wanting. Unfortunately, it never happened. I'm certain, in my opinion, they tried to make something like that happen. I think there was news going around that they attempted to do so, but things just fell through. But yeah, the closest we ever got was the Image Comics crossover in Archie Sonic Super Special number 7, which served primarily, as I said, as a backdoor pilot to the Lost Ones comic by Ken Penders. And that was it. But yeah, this is big news. Overall, outside of that, and I know people will bring up what I've mentioned, like, oh, there was various opportunities beforehand to make this happen. They just never did, or things fell through when they got close to making it happen, and so on. So I get people are going to bring that up. And I don't blame you, because it's something, honestly, as a fan myself, I would have loved to seen become a reality. All right. So what else came out of Sonic Central? The Sonic Central event. Well, they talked about Sonic X Shadow Generations, which is the new updated version of Sonic Generations, but now has the Shadow story. It says a new story trailer was unveiled that featured a new look at the story of Shadow's standalone campaign. And there is a trailer. I'll try to find it, link it at the end here. And the trailer does have Rouge in it. Yes, Rouge is in this. How she plays a part in the whole scenario and everything, we'll have to see, because obviously she was not there when everything happened to Maria and all that, but obviously she's going to be part of this. We'll see what's going on there, but yeah, she's in that trailer. They talked about Sonic Rumble. They said here in the press release, and I quote, Sonic Rumble, get ready for an all-new mobile Sonic party game. Sonic Rumble coming this winter to both mobile and PC, and hopefully other consoles. Play with up to 32 friends and face new challenges, race through various stages, and collect rings to win and unlock a huge selection of cosmetic collectibles. Cosmetic collectibles. Excuse me there. But yeah, that's a new game that got developing for mobile and PC and potentially digital console only. So look forward to that. Sonic Rumble, basically, in my opinion, is just their answer to Mario Party. But yeah, that's what's going to be coming. They talked about Sonic Dream Team. They say a new playable character will be arriving in the mobile game later this year. Who that will be, we do not know. I know people are thinking, could it be Sally? That's the one thing they've been waiting for. I don't know if it's her. We'll have to look at the roster of characters, if you will. It might be the new character from, Sonic Superstars. It might be her. Coming in. And basically being that playable character, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. The other thing they talked about is Chao Tales. Chao Tales, according to the report, Sonic Team announced a new animated web series, Chao Tales, which will include 8 episodes of whimsical shorts featuring the adorable fan favorite Chao. So obviously, it was going to have chaos in there. Again, talked about the whole DC Sonic collaboration, which launches with an all-new 5-issue Sonic comic miniseries published by DC Comics, merchandise developed by SEGA and WBD GCP, spanning numerous categories including apparel, toys, and more will follow in late 2025. So like I said, everybody that wants to see these other characters show up and everything, and that's just the timer on my microwave going off. I'm watering the lawn. I'll get to that in a moment. But again, like I said, everybody that's hoping for a Rouge to get a collaboration, maybe with Catwoman, and Blaze with, with Raven, or maybe even Hawkgirl or whatever, Tangle and Whisper, same thing. Basically you're going to get your opportunity to see that become a reality later on next year. And then to close it out, they talked about partnerships. They said SEGA revealed a variety of partners they will be collaborating with this year to create a wide range of all-new Sonic-themed products and experiences, including Lego, Topgolf, JAKKS Pacific, PDP, First 4 Figures, HJC Helmets, Louis D. Guzman and Bushiroad Creative. Bushiroad Creative, I think Bushiroad Creative, I think, are the same people that were behind the Bushiroad MLP statues or MLP figures. You know, where you had the pony version of the character and the Bushiroad version, human character of that character, I should say. So that might be what we're getting as well, but we'll see. But yeah, a lot of news, like I said, came out. Some good news, some great news. And it looks like this DC partnership is going to last for a while. I don't know if it's going to go beyond 2025, but it does open the door for possibilities as to, you know, what other characters could be collaborated and crossed over with other DC characters as well, for, you know, not just stories, but for merchandise and so on. And I can tell you this too, that crossover is going to sell well. It's going to be a bestseller for DC and by extension IDW and SEGA. But I can tell you it will have a sequel. There will be a sequel happening, and I think that sequel might be published by IDW instead of DC. So in other words, DC would be the publisher, the main publisher for the first crossover, and if we get a sequel, we will see a... Hold on for a sec. Sorry about that. Potential spam. Told you you're going to get these kind of things. But like I said, anyway, like I said, basically I have a feeling IDW is going to be the publisher, the main publisher for the sequel, should that happen following this first one, which I think it's going to. But give me your thoughts, guys, down below in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this crossover and everything. And were you hoping that maybe we would have gotten something when Sonic was under the Archie publication license and, you know, outside of the Image Comics crossover? Let me know. Comment below. Love to hear from each and every one of you on this. Like the video. Ring the bell for notifications. Subscribe to the channel. Also, check out my Teespring store merchandise. There, where you can find merchandise, I should say, you can't find anywhere else. Link will be in the description down below. Also, check out my Venmo and Cash App if you want to help there. Also, check me out at rumble.com at bwrosas, divanart.com at bvw1979, odyssey.com at bwrosas, vimo at bwrosas. Also, check me out at all your favorite audio and video at times podcast affiliates. And again, I do apologize for that notification there, that the voice message that came in. But like I said, check me out at all your favorite audio and video podcast affiliates, you know, like iTunes, Radio Public, iHeartRadio, Audible, Pandora, Spotify for podcasters, Spotify, and so on. So guys, give me your thoughts on all this, and until then, I will talk to you later. Again, do apologize for the vibrations at the end here. That is basically, you know, the notifications coming in, as well as, you know, phone spams, you know, potential spam calls and all that. But let me know what your thoughts are, though. Outside of that, again, I do apologize for all that. But let me know what your thoughts are. And until then, I'm out.